Some people have asked when I will be opening my OnlyFans, and the answer is okay. I've been taking so long trying to fix the lighting and stuff because the sun's going down, and I have a little LED light thing right here, and it's just not the ideal lighting, but we're just gonna leave it whatever. Okay, so I have some original hot boneless wings right here, and then some fries and ranch, of course, and then I got a Diet Coke. Let me just eat a little bit. My food's kind of cold since I was taking forever to set up this whole camera and the lighting and everything.
Esta carne está dura. Bueno, es.
Okay, so first I'm just gonna give y'all a little update where I'm at in life, and we won't really get into details until we get to the questions. I'll dive into all the details. So the last time I recorded a Q&A was, I think, a whole year from now. I think it was around March, May. Let me check. Oh my gosh, I just checked. No, wait, it was from September 2021. That was way more than a year ago. Okay, so the last Q&A I did was from a year and a half ago. So a lot of things have changed clearly. I thought I had done another Q&A last year, but apparently not. And last year was super busy, so time just flew by. So in the last Q&A video, I was about to graduate UCLA after I finished that year. Today is May 12th, so it's been about almost a year since I graduated from UCLA. I am going to grad school. I'm going for counseling psychology because I want to be a therapist. And it's a 3-year program, so I just finished the first year. I have a lot to say about grad school and my experience so far, but I'll do that in a separate video. And I bought my very own first car. I was able to do it without a co-signer, so I'm very proud of myself. I also ended up getting a new job, but I did quit. That's a whole nother story. I also moved from LA, so I'm no longer in LA. So now let's just get into the questions and dive in a little bit deeper. Okay, so back in November, I had asked y'all to send me questions so that I could have answered when I filmed that Q&A. Update, I never actually got to film the Q&A because my life just got super hectic and busy. And yeah, I thought I would have more time, but I didn't. So I'm just gonna go ahead and answer the questions that y'all asked on there first, and then I'll dive into the ones that you guys asked today. So the first question was, what is the greatest lesson you learned at UCLA? Okay, so I'm gonna break it down in 4 parts. I'm gonna do a life lesson, a lesson about myself, a lesson academic wise, and then a lesson professional wise. So first, a life lesson. Being at UCLA and in LA in general just showed me that there's way more to life than just the small town that I come from. I feel like I limited myself to opportunities when I was living here, and being out there, I just realized how much more the world has to offer, and we don't have to settle for what we see on an everyday basis. Over there, everybody's doing so many different things. I think it can be a little bit easier to get more opportunities and things that you actually like, but then it obviously is pricey there, so there's that. But yeah, an overall life lesson is that life has so much to offer. Do not settle or limit your potential. Always strive for the most. Live your most authentic life. Try to live a life that's very fulfilling, and just believe in yourself and know that you can get there. And sometimes you do need a different environment and surrounding to be able to grow to your full potential. So yeah, I would suggest taking trips to LA, or I don't know, to me that always lets me know like, okay, there's more to life than just being stuck in a small town. So I love living there and I really miss it there, and sometimes I wish I would have stayed, but I miss my family so much, and I do like my small town. But now I'm realizing that it can be a little bit motivating living here at times, but I'm just trying to push through. A lesson I learned about myself is that the challenges that you go through actually are what builds your self-confidence, and there's something you can be grateful after you get through those challenges, and you learn a lot of skills and you learn a lot about yourself. And also I just realized how important it is to have friends that are supportive, and that's where I feel like I found some of the realest friendships I've had. And then academic wise, I guess I learned that you can literally do anything you set your mind to. For me, UCLA wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be. I think it's also because COVID happened, so then the classes were online and it was just easier to get the work done. I also feel like the professors made it maybe a little bit less difficult, or I don't know, but you know, there was times when I did have to stay up long nights studying and all of that. So something I learned is that your grade does not define you, and just because you didn't get the grade you wanted, you didn't pass the class, that doesn't mean that you don't have the potential to, or that you're even any less just because of that. So yeah, your grades do not define you. And then professional wise, just learn to network, get close to your professors, get close to your boss or whatever, because eventually you will need those letters of reference if you need to go on to a master's program or PhD program. Okay, and then somebody asked, what are your plans on life? So I feel like my plans have changed a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised if I end up changing my plans within the next months or years. As of right now, I plan to finish grad school, so that's 2 more years, and then to become a therapist. And I also want to travel. Eventually one day I want to get married, and I do want to have children also, but I feel like that's way later down the line for me, so I'm not trying to rush into any of that. But for now, I just want to stay focused more on my career and being financially stable, and then I can look into like possibly getting married and starting a family. But I do want more time for myself because I feel like I still have a lot to learn about myself. So yeah, I don't want to be rushing into any other major life change. Someone said, have you ever gotten in a fist fight? And maybe when I was younger with my sisters, but other than that, no. Someone asked, what was the hardest thing for you starting college? Honestly, I feel like the transition to college wasn't that hard for me, just because I was so ready to leave and go to LA. So yeah, there was a lot of excitement, but I think it would just be leaving my family and not seeing them as often. Someone said, spill the tea on your first kiss. So for my first kiss, I was probably like 14 years old. I think I was a freshman in high school. I remember there was this boy that I really liked. We went to the movies. He took me to the back of the movie theater and had me close my eyes and just came up and kissed me. And yeah, there's not too much to it, but I remember being super excited in that moment. Okay, somebody asked, how can I be more supportive towards myself when I don't have a big support system? Now, this is very hard because you have to learn to rely on yourself instead of others, and I feel like for me, a lot of the time I would rely on others to make me feel better or to support the decisions I was making. But honestly, I think it just has to do a lot with doing more inner work on yourself. And I honestly think it's not easy, especially when we're like our biggest critics. So in order to be more supportive towards yourself, you have to be able to love yourself. So if you're not doing self-care or any of that, it's very hard. And I think that just treating yourself like you would a friend, even if that means talking to yourself, having to journal your thoughts or whatever, And I think it's really hard because we always want the people that mean the most to us to be there for us, to be supportive and all of that. But we have to stop relying on external validation for the choices that we want to make. You do have to be your biggest supporter. If not, you will constantly be disappointed by others. So honestly, it's just working on loving yourself and treating yourself like you would a very close friend, and not being as critical about yourself. And I think something that could really help with this and get you to that, because that could be a long process, is going to therapy. I will always recommend therapy. Okay, so talking about therapists, I got a question that says, is your therapist from Porterville? I've been in need of one, but I have no idea who or where to go. So I got my therapist whenever I was at UCLA. They actually referred me to a therapist in LA, so their location is in LA, but since I don't live in LA, I've been doing telehealth ever since. Also because of COVID and stuff, they were doing telehealth. So I literally just sit in my car like right now and talk to my therapist. They're not from Porterville, but I do know people that have therapists from Porterville, and I had talked to a therapist from here a couple months back, just asking her experience and stuff, and she said that most of the therapists here are very booked. So I would just suggest doing telehealth. That way you don't have to be there in person. And if you have health insurance, a lot of them do accept it. I would suggest going on Psychology Today and then just finding therapists through there that do take insurance, or if you need to pay out of pocket, you could see their prices there and just reach out to them. There was a point in time in March whenever my therapist was off for that whole month and she wasn't sure if she was coming back. So I know the struggle of trying to find a therapist, but I would suggest going on Psychology Today because I found that that's where a lot of people have found great therapists. And also I know of people who have tried BetterHelp and they found great therapists on there as well. So yeah, just definitely look around, and if you ever need help or want more specifics, you can DM me. Some people have asked when I will be opening my OnlyFans, and the answer is never. That is not something I would like to do. It's just not fitting with my values and morals, so that's something I will not be doing.
Anyways,
someone asked your biggest insecurity, and I like to say I do have a lot of insecurities, but I will not be sharing that because then people like to use it against you and point it out, so no comment on that. Someone had asked how long is your grad program, and it is 3 years. I'm assuming this was one of my friends, and they said, girly, I miss you, you need to visit LA soon. And I definitely have plans to go to LA this month, so hopefully we can do something. I'm so ready to go out and drink and just have a good time. Someone said, eres mi fan número uno, saludos de Michoacán, saludos, ojalá pueda ir pronto. Someone else asked, how long have you been doing social media? I started, I believe it was end of my senior year of high school, and I've been posting content ever since. So it's been about 5.5 years. It's been a while. I definitely had more time during COVID to be super consistent, so that helped me grow a lot. But yeah, it's been about 5.5 years now. Okay, somebody asked, what's your toxic trait? And I don't think I'm toxic. But I guess something that's toxic to myself is that whenever I'm starting to feel better mentally and emotionally, I tend to stop doing self-care because I'm like, all right, I'm fine. And then it all catches up to me eventually and I break down, have mental breakdowns and everything. And then I realize I should have stayed consistent with my self-care. All right, so someone asked, how many times a day do you go to the gym, and what's your favorite part about the gym, and what's your least? So I only go to the gym once a day if I do go. And since I started grad school, I didn't go for about half a year. I would probably go once a week or maybe twice a month. But recently, starting in April, I started going about 3 times a week. So still not very consistent as I had once been. So what's your favorite part about the gym? I think it's that I just have time for myself and I tend to either listen to podcasts or music. I used to not do cardio as much, but now that I do, I just love being either on the Stairmaster or treadmill, listening to a podcast or to music, or even watching Netflix or whatever. Just being in my zone and having that time for myself and ignoring everyone else and the outside world. So yeah, I really like that. And what's my least favorite part? I think it's just whenever it gets packed. I just hate having to wait, or I just hate when there's not much room to do the workouts. Do y'all see how dark it got? I think I already been here an hour though. Okay, someone asked what's your sign, and I am a Capricorn. My birthday is January 4th. So because it's already dark, those are all the questions that I will be answering for today. Maybe I could do another video sometime later, just to be a little bit more honest. The past year, starting in like August of 2022, it has been very, very difficult to manage going to grad school, and then I had a job at the time, and then grad school is about an hour and a half drive from where I stay at, so it's a pretty long drive. It ended up getting mentally draining without me really realizing it. It wasn't until I literally just felt like I couldn't do it anymore, and this happened back in March. I ended up quitting my job because it was just mentally draining, and I didn't notice or think that it was that draining for me until I almost had an anxiety attack, and I had not felt that in a very long time. So that's how I knew I was just very overwhelmed and wasn't taking care of myself. Thankfully, I had my therapist, and I was able to make the decision to just quit my job for my own health. And yeah, that was not easy at all though. I felt so much guilt from doing that. I just felt like I had almost failed myself, and even after that, things didn't get better right away. With grad school, it puts you in very uncomfortable situations where you're supposed to grow through them. I've had a lot of anxiety the past month, and now that my classes are over and I'm able to relax off of all of that a little. I see my therapist every week, so that's honestly helped me to reflect and really understand where it's all coming from. And honestly, if it wasn't for that, I feel like I'd be lost. That's why I'm always pushing for therapy and recommending therapy. I feel like it can really help you understand yourself and grow and process your trauma, your fears, everything. And it's obviously only if you're ready for it, because I know it can be very intimidating. I've been going through it really bad at times when I have like imposter syndrome and feeling like I sometimes don't belong in like higher education, and I think a lot of us may have experienced that. UCLA didn't give me that feeling just because I was able to find a good group of friends where we were all sharing similar values and shared the same culture, so I always felt like I had a piece of home with me. But now in this grad program, it's just been a lot more difficult being surrounded by people who you can't really relate to. But that's when you really do have to be your biggest supporter and be there for yourself. But yeah, it honestly just hasn't been easy. My self-confidence was not really there. There was a lot of times when I just could not see the light at the end of the tunnel. It just felt like so many problems coming up, and I felt like I just couldn't handle it. I was very overwhelmed. And anxiety is just such a big, scary thing that like I would have never known how bad it could get. And like for those of you that have never had anxiety attacks or anything, you are one of the lucky ones. Yeah, it can lead you to having very negative thoughts and feeling like you can't get out of it. And if you deal with an anxiety disorder or depression or any mental illness, know that you are not alone, and there are things that you can really benefit from. Not everything works for everyone, so it's a lot of just exploration on what's best for you, but definitely always put your mental health first, because without your mental health there, it honestly just impacts every other aspect of your life. So yeah, I can go way more into depth about this. I didn't want to make the video too long. I can jump into all the other topics, and I probably will, because I feel like a lot of people don't talk about it enough. So yeah, if I can do that and make anyone else feel like they're not alone, because I know that's what really helped me when I was going through it. It's really just about giving yourself some grace and not being so hard on yourself, and also just enjoying the journey. So yeah, just know I do not have all of my shit figured out or together. I think especially a lot of us who are in our 20s, we're all at different stages in life. A lot of us don't really have too many people to look up to, especially if you're like in higher education or you're just experiencing something different than others. So it can get very lonely, but just know you got this. You're stronger than you think, and you deserve the best in life, so never stop striving for that. We're all in this together. We will become better. We will achieve those goals that we have for ourselves. And also just give yourself some grace for all that you've gone through, and make sure to prioritize yourself and be there for yourself. Take rest days if you need to, and don't feel guilty about taking those mental health days. So the light I was using ended up turning off, but thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching this updated Q&A and life update.